What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. I'm super excited. We've got a very, very cool guest. He's about to drop a lot of wisdom, a lot of great value for us today. He's a spiritual teacher, personal transformation coach, a TEDx speaker, an award-winning author. Please welcome Christian de la Huerta to the show. Christian, thank you for joining us today. Can you please tell the audience a little bit about your background?
Hey, Deanna, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate being here with you. Let's see where to start. I was born in Cuba, lived there my first 10 years of life, came to the States when I was 10, and have lived in all different places. I'm only missing one state, Alaska.
Really?
And I've been doing personal transformation retreats, workshops for over 30 years. Like you said, I'm a TEDx speaker. I'm all about facilitating personal transformation, focusing on personal relationships that actually have a chance of working, personal empowerment, work specifically with women's empowerment, coming from my belief that that is the single most important thing that needs to happen in the world. I deal with issues like life purpose, living heroically, etc.
I love that. And so I actually have a lot of questions around what you just said. I guess my first one is, why women specifically? Why do you think that that is like something that you think that needs to be fixed?
Well, because I think about it strategically. Like, we're facing so many different challenges as a species. I mean, just to begin with the environmental crisis. And that can become just so overwhelming. Like, what can I do about any of those things? Yeah. Polarization, the rise in the autocratic movement, the threats to democracy, et cetera, et cetera. So many challenges that we're facing, the polarization. And so I believe that when women are in 50% of power in the world, we're going to have a very different relationship to war and poverty and hunger and social justice and how we treat the environment and to all of it. So it's like a strategic thinking. What is one thing that I could focus on that will then impact a lot of different other areas?
Yeah, I like that. And I think that you are correct. We're on the right path, but we're not there yet. So, I mean, we have a little further to go. Why did you start your transformational coaching journey? Because you said 30 years ago. What did you do 30 years prior to what you're doing now?
Well, I've kind of always been in the field or related fields. My dad was a psychiatrist. My degree's in psychology. So I was always going to do something in that area. That's sort of my gifts, and my skill set is in that area of helping people fulfill their potential, to get themselves free, to transcend the obstacles that we've allowed to hold us back from having the kind of lives and the kind of relationships that we dream of. I started thinking about this question about power. It's probably been like, it was originally inspired because I come from a large family, a large Catholic family. There's 9 of us. Wow. And all of us conceived within 12 years. My older sister, as a kid, she was like a natural born leader. She would bust around not only the 9 of us, but the entire neighborhood of 15, 20 kids. And not in a bossy way. She would just say, hey, let's go do that. And we would all say, okay, let's all go do that. And when she hit puberty, Deanna, she turned that off. She turned those natural leadership skills. She just turned it off. And I don't know if somebody said something to her directly or whether she just picked it up through osmosis from society that, little girls and women didn't behave that way.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was really tragic.
Yeah, I know I get, even recently, my last job, my boss told me, you need to soften your approach. You are too aggressive. You're type A. I said, I know I am. Isn't that why you hired me? Because I'm the oldest of 5, so not quite 9, but we had a large family. My mom's one of 6, and I have that natural leadership ability. And I've grown more into it. Just because I had to fend for myself a lot. My father was a deadbeat, but I have along the way been told certain things to try to stop me from being like that natural person that I'm supposed to be. And so exactly. I can relate to that. So someone probably did say something to her.
Exactly. And I mean, and that's a great example. The exact same qualities that in a guy we go, oh my God, what a strong, clear-headed, determined leader. In a woman, what do we call her? Right? It's a 5-letter word. She's a bitch.
Yeah.
Exact same behaviors, exact same qualities, but it's still layered with so much misogyny.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really discouraging. I'm still, when that happened, I kind of was like, I took a moment. I had to sit in those feelings, and I was just like, I'm not going to let this affect me. And I just kept moving forward. So
Good for you.
it's not easy all the time, but because we are emotional, women are emotional, and sometimes you can get caught up in that. And so if I allow myself to sit in those feelings, and then I let it go, because I think that's healthy, instead of pushing it down and trying to let it hold me back.
Yeah, and we're all emotional. It's just like we're all conditioned to make the emotions weakness, and particularly guys. Since we were kids, we were told little boys don't cry, and why is that? Because only little girls cry, and does that mean that the feminine is weakness? Is like so many faulty assumptions in that. First of all, if you want to talk power and courage and strength and resilience, let's talk about the power of creation that lives in a female body. And also the second faulty emotion there, or assumption there is that the emotions are weakness. It's like, wait a minute, emotions are neither strength nor weakness. They're not good, they're not bad, they're just energy. Like what used to be spiritual teaching, that everything is energy. Now we know from quantum physics, it's all energy, which means that this chair that I'm sitting on, the computer, the body, the emotion, all of it energy cannot be destroyed. And that's part of the reasons that we get into trouble with the emotions, because we think that by suppressing them, we're going to deal with them. And we know they don't, right? They just get, so they get suppressed, and then they're having an impact on us from the subconscious. And only two things can happen, right? Because those energy cannot be destroyed. So it's going to come out one way or another. So it's either we suppress, and the next unfortunate one says something the wrong way, and boom, explosion.
Yep.
And we cause harm to our relationships. Or suppress, and then it starts seeping out and showing up as physical symptoms.
Yes.
Cancer, heart attacks, ulcers. So we've got to get this down. We've got to heal our relationship to our emotions and learn how to communicate them courageously and compassionately, both. And we got to heal our relationship to power.
Yeah,
because that's another one that we have a conflict with.
I love that. I actually had a conversation. One of my guests, he is called Purposeful Brotherhood. I think that's what the name of the episode was. And he's all about, you talked about men and how allowing them to, thinking that feelings are weakness. And he specifically focuses on encouraging men to allow themselves to feel, allow themselves to cry, because it is not weakness, it's actually a strength to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And like you said, it impacts your relationships if you're able to process your feelings in a healthy way. So I mean, you might want to talk to him. You might be able to do some stuff together.
That'd be great, Deanna. I'd definitely like to connect with him. And you're totally right. It's like we've gotten confused. We think vulnerability is weakness, and then we think that we walk around like there's like these uncaring, unfeeling robots, that is powerful. It's like, wait a minute, like living like this, in DEFCON 1, waiting for the next attack, just like, this is not power. This is like prison.
Yeah,
it's like prison, and men have paid a price for that too.
Yeah,
not only in terms of longevity, like women outlive men by 5 years in the US, by 7 years globally. And I know that it's because part of it is because we walk around like this robots, and there's a price to pay for those.
Yeah.
Also, the rate of suicide. It's another interesting number. Men in the US commit suicide 4 times as frequently as women. In fact, 70% of the suicides in the US are committed by men. And by middle-aged white men, which are still the ones who hold the majority of the power in the world.
Yeah.
Which leads us to think, wait a minute, what's going on there? Because we would think that the group that holds the majority of the power would have a better life and live longer. But no. And I think part of it is part of that dissatisfaction is because we walk around like suppressing entire parts of who we are as humans. And that's just not going to work.
No, those are staggering numbers. I didn't know that. That's pretty concerning. Yeah, come on, man, you got to get it together. Let those feelings come out. Support for Label Free Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Now, ladies, you can use this too. We're all inclusive here. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. And now we're going to have the ladies too, because come on, ladies, let's be real. We have an exclusive offer for my listeners, 20% off plus free shipping with the code labelfree20 at manscaped.com. So thank you, Manscaped, for your support. And everybody is welcome to purchase with my code. Talk to us about your book. I love Awakening the Soul of Power and how to heroically, what is the rest of the title?
How to live heroically and set yourself free.
So when did you start writing this book, or when did this come into motion for you? Because it's the title is very powerful.
Thank you. I probably started thinking about it and developing my thinking about it and testing, the teachings out and the concepts out in retreats 10 years ago. And it took COVID, it took the pandemic to sit my butt down and get it out of my head and onto the computer screen and then paper. So without minimizing the tragedy of the pandemic, for me, it was helpful because I went from 100,000 miles on an airplane a year to like zilch. And that gave me the opportunity to not only finish this book, but to begin to work on the second one in the series, which I'm about halfway done. And I created virtual online coaching programs, which I've known for years I needed to do, but I was just too busy flying from place to place, from event to event. So the book is for everybody, but it has that particular message for women, because we all struggle with issues around power. We have a conflicted relationship with power. So part of us wants it, part of us is afraid of it. And I think what we fear, like if we really owned our power fully, if we really stepped into our power and be all of who we are, that other people wouldn't be able to handle it and that we might end up rejected and alone. And who wants that? We also fear that we might abuse it. And no wonder, like how many abuses of power have we witnessed in our lives? Mm-hmm. And any given day, all I got to do is turn on the news and to witness at least one abuse of power. And then combine that with the fact that we've been conditioned to believe that power is a bad thing. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Who wants to be corrupted? But what they didn't tell us about that quote is that Lord Acton was speaking specifically about political power, not personal power. So when you add to that what we're talking about with the emotions, we've been conditioned to reject the emotions. We hate conflict. We avoid confrontation. What happens is that we give up. We sell out on our own personal power. We say yes when inside we feel no. And all of it for kind of lame reasons, for an illusion of security, for a false sense of acceptance. We stuff ourselves into small little packages that are not going to rock the boat too much, that are not going to be threatening, and we settle for crumbs, for morsels of pseudo love, because it's not even real love, because we're not presenting ourselves authentically. So anything we get in response cannot be real either. So it's not a good strategy. And the book walks the reader through how do we step into power in a way that's not about hierarchy, control, fear, force, domination, that doesn't require that we push anybody down, step on them in order for us to feel powerful. How do we do it in a different way?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so you, it says here that you won several awards for this book. Non-fiction book award, the Nautilus Book Award. You even had a Grammy Award winner, Gloria Estefan, say something very positive about your book. That had to be very exciting for you.
Oh my God. I for like a 24-hour period, I couldn't even believe that had happened. And it actually took me, I actually courted her for 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe longer, maybe it could even 3 years to get that endorsement.
How did she find your book? How did she come? Did you send it to her?
Yeah, well, here's the fun story. The story is it's got a good message. I was living in Miami at the time, and I read somewhere that she was going to be honored at some kind of gala. So I bought a ticket, went to the gala. At the end of it, I beeline, right? I wanted to make sure that I met her before she left. And so I was able to, she was incredibly generous and accessible and just so real and authentic. So we bonded because I said to her, when before Gloria was Gloria, when it was Miami's Sound Machine, way back then, they used to play at our high school dances.
Get out.
So we laughed about that and we bonded about that. And then I said, well, I've got this book that I think you're going to be interested in, and told her a little bit about the women empowerment part of it. And so then she gave me the card to her manager, and that's the part that took 2 years. He was doing his job. He was being the guardian,
Yeah,
the guard dog.
yeah,
And so finally, I had like I was about to give up, and then I had a then I rethought this. I thought, all right, why? She probably gets these requests constantly. So what's going to make this one stand out? What's going to touch her heart and make her want to do this? And so I rewrote the book as part of a series on what it means to live heroically in the 21st century. So I did some research, and I found out her dad had been a counter-revolutionary. So in other words, whether he had fought against the Castro and tried to free Cuba from the communist regime, as my parents had done in a different way
yeah.
when they were in Cuba. And so I spoke about heroism and how and all the sacrifices her father and our parents had made, and for a larger cause, for freedom. And I said, and the way that you recovered from your bus accident was inspiring and nothing short of heroic. And many people have all over the world, millions of people have been inspired by that. And then I said, and all true stuff. I said, and thanked her for her generosity because she had supported so many other Latino and Latina artists to make it. So that's it. So would you help this fellow Cuban American to reach a broader audience? Would you write an endorsement to the book? And 2 months went by and nothing. 3 months went by and nothing. And I had to go to press. So I was about to give up, and then I listened to the quiet voice inside, and said, just one more. And I said, all right, one more. And I wrote her manager and said, hey, if I'm not stalking, but I just need to know if you got my email, because I've got to go to print. And this time he got right back to me within the hour. And he said, yes, she's halfway through your book. Can you give us another week? She's loving it. So, of course, I would have given them another month.
Making me cry a little bit over here. That is a great story. Like, talk about your perseverance and determination to get that from her. But I think
That's the message.
I'm gonna have to purchase that book, because I'm thinking I'm gonna love it too. What is the one main takeaway that you'd like people to know about your book and how it can help them?
That there is a way that we can step into our power that is a match for who we are, and that we no longer have to go around selling out and giving up our power. That there's a way that we don't have to get stuck in power struggles.
Yeah.
That there's a way that we can, and that it all begins with understanding who we are and how our minds work, and why we do what we do, and why do we get triggered by certain things, and why do we get stuck in certain relationship patterns that sometimes feel like it's the same boring movie, just with a different actor, a different lead, but it's the same kind of crap coming up. So I walk the book, the reader by the hand, short chapters with interactivity, with practices at the end of each chapter, and none of it demanding of a lot of time. It's like, I know how busy everybody is.
Yeah.
So, but if the reader will spend a chapter a week, a short chapter will take 10-15 minutes to read, spend a little bit of time with the practices, because those are the ones that are going to make sure that the teachings don't stay at the level of good information. We don't need more information. We got information overload.
Yeah.
What we need is transformation. And that comes from really taking on and applying these teachings and integrating them into our lives. And the book is designed to support that.
I love that. I love that even more. So if someone actually wanted to go a step further and was interested in working with you, so they got the book, they're like, this is great, I really connect with Christian, and but what does that look like for them if they're looking to have you as a coach?
Yeah, well, right now I'm doing virtual. I haven't started live events yet. I'm hoping that this year it'll be safe to go back and do, the live retreats and workshops. And I take people to beautiful spiritually based locations in the world, Hawaii, Machu Picchu. I'm putting together a trip to Ecuador, where I've been living the last couple of months, and southern France, New Mexico. All things are kind of like a hybrid vacation and spiritual retreat. And by the way, when I say spiritual, non-denominational,
Yeah.
I don't follow any one particular religious path. And so in terms of reaching me, the best place is my website. From there, they can access my social media. And for your audience, anybody who's watching or listening to this, if they'll go to soulfulpower.com and get on my email list. And we know how easy it is to click unsubscribe if it doesn't work for you down the road. And I'm not going to take it personally, but anybody who gets on the email list will get a sample chapter from the book, the one that talks about what it means to live heroically in the 21st century. They'll get some of these practices that you and I are talking about, and they'll get a guided teaching and a recorded meditation about moving into trust. Like, how do we live in trust in these times of chaos and fear and uncertainty?
Yeah, that's a good one right there. How long are the retreats typically?
Well, the live retreats are usually Thursday night to Sunday afternoon.
Okay,
The ones where I take people to different locations in the world, those are longer, a week, 10 days sometimes.
nice.
And the virtual coaching program that I've got going on now, it's a year-long experience. But again, just bite-sized, a little bit of content
Sure.
each week. But it's that stretching it out over years is actually making the transformation more sustainable, is what I'm discovering.
Yeah, I would imagine so because we're a constant work in process. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
you should always be striving to improve, to grow, to try to find that healing within. And I'm a big believer in that. So I think that a year is, I mean, especially if you're just doing it once a week in bite-sized form, like you say, I think that's really good because it helps someone actually make a real change in their life
Exactly,
instead of putting a band-aid
Deanna.
on it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we're getting here. We're close on time, so it's almost time for us to say goodbye. So we've talked about your coaching. We've talked about your book. Is there anything you have a new book coming out? Is there anything else that you have that you'd like to share with the audience that we can tell them?
No, I think that's the program that I have going on now. I do virtual summits too, where I have different speakers, once a year, twice a year. So and with incredible speakers, like I'm sure you do because you've had some amazing guests on your show. I also know a lot of people who are really doing great work in terms of helping people get free and empowered and helping our collective transformation. So yeah, when they get on my email list, they'll get information about all those programs. And I wanted to thank you, Deanna, not only for having me on the show, but for doing the work that you do. That it's so. I mean, in so many ways, we're speaking the same language, maybe with different aspects of the prism through which we see it. But with your podcast and label free and living label free, it's also making a difference. And your willingness to have the show, a lot of lives are being impacted. So thank you.
Well, that was very sweet. Thank you for that. It was an absolute pleasure, Christian. I will put all of his links in the show notes, you guys. So do not hesitate to reach out, buy the book, subscribe, all that stuff. And if he touched you in a way that you felt that you connected with him, go ahead and sign up for those coaching, his virtual coaching. And so, like I told you before we say goodbye, I know you dropped a lot of wisdom, a lot of great advice. I mean, it was a great conversation, just very open. Any last words of wisdom or advice you'd like to leave with the audience?
I would say, we're living in really critical times.
Yes.
You could even say that humanity's at a choice point. Which way are we going to go? What kind of relationship with the planet and with ourselves and with each other are we choosing to have? And the planet will be fine. It might take a few million years, but life will continue. Life will find homeostasis. Again, consciousness will continue evolving. Maybe it turns out to be an enlightened cockroach planet. Who knows? Whether we make it, that's the question, right? We're just now beginning to witness whatever it is that we have unleashed on the environment. So anybody listening or watching this who has the slightest suspicion, the slightest inkling that they have work to do in terms of providing healing, teaching, becoming activists for change, this is it. This is the time that we've been waiting for.
Yes, I would agree. Very powerful words. Thank you, Christian, so much for being a guest. Definitely keep us posted on any new projects you have going on. Would love to have you back and share with the audience. It was an absolute pleasure. I could talk to you probably for hours about all this stuff because I like to get real deep. So
yeah, you and I would not run out of stuff to talk about.
No, definitely not. I got to get that book and then follow up with you.
Well, let me know. I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, follow, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.